Good evening, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We'll begin our City Council meeting tonight with a prayer and a pledge with Mayor Pro Tem Amos O'Neill.
Mayor, let's pray. Dear God, we thank you for this evening. We ask your blessing on this meeting. We ask your blessing on our decisions, that we make the best decisions to impact the entire city of Saginaw. Bless our city manager and staff and all the citizens of this great city. This we ask in your name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
Madam Clerk, would you do the roll call for us?
Councilman Fitzpatrick. Here. Councilman Tibbs. Present. Councilwoman Bench. Present. Mayor Pro Tem O'Neill.
Present.
Councilman Coloris.
Present.
Councilwoman Moore. Present. Councilman Balls.
Present.
And Councilman Clark is absent. Mayor Browning.
Present.
And we have 8 present, 1 absent, Mayor.
Thank you.
That takes you to announcements. And I do not have any this
No,
evening.
you have no
I
announcements.
don't. No.
All right,
So we will move to public hearing.
okay. The public hearing tonight, this is on the 2015 single lot special assessment tax roll. And let me go through the public hearing. The purpose of a public hearing is for the public to address council as a whole and for council to receive comments for consideration at the time action may be taken. Public comment shall not be addressed to individual council members, city staff, or the audience. Speakers must limit their remarks to the subject of the hearing. Begin by stating your name, please. Speakers may ask general questions, but shall not ask questions of specific council members. So this is our public hearing on the, is there anyone who would like to comment on the 2015 single lot special assessment tax roll? If you're here for that, just first person will stand up to the podium. Anyone, go ahead. It's first come, first serve. If anyone would like, yep, there you are. Start off by giving us your name, address, and then your remarks.
Charlotte Booth, 722 North Mason, Saginaw, Michigan. Pardon? No. Okay, I got this letter saying that I owe $75 for them removing a junk car from my property. Now, my address faces Mason, and the man that was renting, our backyards meet, but there's an alley in between, and his address is on Bond. And I asked him, I said, could you please move your car? And I said, that's my property. And he said, no, I'm not, and I won't say the words he called me. But then he said, I'm from Flint, and I can a bunch of other stuff. And I thought, this ain't worth getting shot over, so I called the police. The police came over. Is that an easement they call it? Anyway, the police said they can't do anything about it because it used to be a regular alley, and then homes got in there, and so it was shut off right there by the side of my yard. And he wouldn't move his car. And then when I called the number here today and asked him what kind of car it was, they told me it was a Buick Regal. I said, what year? And she said she didn't know. But it's not my car. I'm retired. I don't want to pay the $75 for a car that wasn't mine.
Okay. We'll refer that to our city staff to look into it, and they'll make a report.
I mean, when they took the junk car away, wouldn't they have had to have like a registration who the car belonged to?
Well, once again, we'll refer this to the city staff, and they'll refer it, because we can't talk about the individual case.
Oh,
But
okay.
this will be referred now to the city staff to investigate it and get a report back to the council members.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you.
And yourself, too, yep. Anyone else on the single lot assessment? Anyone else, second time for the single lot assessment?
Hi, I live at 1109 South Fayette Street,
Okay,
and I received a letter in the mail from the city stating that I was being charged $89.12 for weed abatement. Well, I had lived in between a lot, empty lot that is owned by the city, and the house on the right of me is an empty house, and both properties have been abandoned. So I'm coming to the conclusion that the city is getting me mixed up with either this empty lot or this empty house that is on the right side of me, because I've never left my yard abandoned because I live there. And I did send papers to the weed abandonment office across the street. I faxed papers and showed proof, and I spoke with Bruce. I'm not sure of his last name. And he said he was going to take care of the issue that, because of the pictures and everything that I showed him, it showed proof that I'm not abandoning my yard.
okay.
And
Okay.
that's all.
Well, thank you, and once again, that'll be referred to our city staff. They'll report back to us on what we find on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Lydia Bashins. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This 2015 single lot special assessment tax roll. Is there anyone else to speak on it? One more time, is there anyone else to speak on the single lot assessment? And one and third final time, anyone else to speak on that? Members of council, I need a motion to close the hearing. It's been moved in support. Is there any discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by aye. Opposed, motion carries. Those that did present today should have some feedback from the city in a relatively reasonable time. Thank you very much.
Mayor, your next order of business is personal appearances.
And our personal appearances, speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Purpose of the personal appearances to direct counsel. Speaker shall address their remarks to the council as a whole. Remarks shall not be addressed to individual council members, city staff, or the audience. Speaker may ask general questions about the topic of their presentation. With that said, Madam Clerk, personal appearances.
Our first speaker is Pam Jackson.
Pam Jackson, 1829 West Michigan.
Yes, ma'am.
The reason I'm here tonight is I had a water bill that was due on the 9th of January. I put it in the drop box on the 7th after I got out of work on second shift. It was my first check of the year. I wrote 2014 instead of 2015. They sent the check back to my house. I changed the date, took it right back in the drop box. Well, then I saw that they assessed a late fee to me. So I called and I talked to a lady, and she said, well, you had the wrong year and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, I called my credit union, and they said, well, did they try to send it in? And I said, well, no. She said the year was wrong, and they just sent it back to my house. And she was saying, you know, that machine's processed. They never checked the checks for the dates, but that was done. So then I called her back again, and I said, you know, why didn't you call my house? I would have given you permission to change the year on the check. And she said, well, oh, we don't have a phone number for you. So then I had to make sure they had a phone number for me for in the future. So then my comment was, my check was there on Thursday, the 8th. So you chose to send it to me to correct it, but it was there prior to the due date at 4 p.m. on Friday, so I shouldn't be charged a late fee. So then we sort of went back and forth, and Then she said, well, I'll have to get back with you. And I said, okay, fine. And I was certain that the check was there on time because I took it Wednesday after work. I never use the mail. I always take it to the drop box. I always drop it off on a Wednesday to give a couple days for processing. So anyway, she calls me back and then she says, well, oops, we didn't get it until Monday. So that's why I'm here. I took the night off from work. I work second shift, and I'm throwing myself at your mercy. It's an $8.11 fee. I know it's not a big deal, but now it's the principal. I'm sorry. My check was there when it's due. Maybe it got lost in a shuffle. We all make mistakes, and I have had late bills before. I've taken the responsibility, paid the late fees with no fuss. But this time, I'm certain that my check was there on time. And I'm throwing myself at your mercy and asking you to credit my account $8.11.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Oscar Moulton Jr.
My name is Oscar Moulton Sr. And the address I'm referring to is 801 Lapeer Avenue here in Saginaw. And I'm here regarding a water bill for 2 months in a row, the same exact amount down to the penny. And when I got the first one, am I allowed to mention the amount?
Sure.
Okay, the amount was $165.35. And I went over and I found out that it was a leak in the bathtub. And I repaired it and I paid that bill. And I have a bill here now that's due on the 16th. On the 20th of this month for the exact same amount down to the penny. And when I paid the first bill, when I found out what it was, I fixed the leak. Then I paid the bill. And then I'm getting a bill for the same amount.
Okay. We'll
that's what
refer
I-
that to the city staff for review for us.
Okay,
Thank you for coming.
thank you.
Mayor, that takes you to remarks of council.
I remind council members, remarks are limited to 5 minutes. And tonight, we begin with Councilman Tibbs.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for appearing today. To our speakers, thanks for raising these concerns to our attention. Our city staff is pretty good at responding to these issues. I had a conversation with Mr. Alexander today just to follow up on his issue with he being charged the non-owner occupied dwelling ordinance, and he was able to work it out with the city. And in most instances, the city does look into it and take the time out and try to find what the problem is and explain the problem to you in a very professional fashion. So thank you for showing. I think last year, one of the most important decisions I thought that our city council made was to, and the mayor and his leadership, was to fill in the vacancies of the City Council School Liaison Committee. As everyone's familiar with, Saginaw High could possibly be closing. And, I was always of the opinion that even though Saginaw, there's a lot of positive things happening right now, I don't think it will ever fully restore itself unless we have some type of stable school system. And the fact that our school liaison committee is established and we can communicate with the school system, I think having open lines of communication is important, and I think that liaison committee is a good avenue for that. February 27th, the First Ward Community Center is having their soul food luncheon. It's their largest fundraiser of the year. I'm currently a board member. It's a great organization that does a lot for our kids in our city, just not that particular Northeast area. And I encourage you to support First Ward and even attend the luncheon. The kids generally do some type of performance, and the food is great. And you're definitely worth the $15 that the tickets are cost. As a board member, I have a few, so if you're interested, I can give you a ticket. Later this week, I'll be at Arthur Hill, attending a Hill Community Day at Arthur Hill High School. We get a lot of negative, sometimes we get a lot of unjust feedback about our youth here in the city, but there are so many of our kids that are doing positive things for our city, and these are future leaders of our city, and I look forward to attending that event. It's Thursday, February 19th at 7:50 at Arthur Hill, and it's a student-led communication or dialogue between elected officials and the kids at that school. At the last meeting, Buena Vista Charter Township, I know our city and the committee that I guess I helped organize for the crime-free lease addendum, they took steps into developing their own ordinance. They're one meeting away to establishing that ordinance. As far as our committee, we should be meeting sometime next month, and hopefully we can have something come out that meeting and present it to the city council as a whole. Growing up, one of the sports I played was tennis, and the Urban Tennis Foundation, led by Ken LaCuro and Farrington Douglas. It's a very economically friendly tennis lessons. It can be an expensive sport, but they give lessons at a nominal fee, and they do it pretty well. We had a kid from Saginaw High, Andrew Farrell, who was one of their students. Last year won a regional title at #1 singles. He was the first student at Saginaw High to do that. They will be offering tennis lessons at the Y beginning February 27th, I believe, for kids 5 to 13. And as I said, it's a sport you can play for a lifetime. I've seen kids from age 5 to men and women in their 90s play the sport. So it's a very good sport that give you some type of physical activity for a lifetime. Last meeting, we were given or asked for active loans for the Saginaw Economic Development Corporation. And thank you for the information you provided. I was just wondering if we can have some additional information, specifically the dollar amounts and the current status of those loans. I think it will help offer a little transparency as far as our businesses in the area. And if you have time, I appreciate it. Obviously, I ran out of time. Thank you, Mayor.
Nope, you did just fine. Thank you. Yeah. Councilman Dan Fitzpatrick.
Thank you very much. Just to reiterate, and I know this has happened to me as well, Ms. Jackson, or to members of my family. I've even seen it where a check arrives at the city and easily to lay it aside, and later it's found, but somebody gets charged a late fee. I really think that this is something that hopefully we can look into and waive. Yeah. I'm sure that was noted by our city manager. So the other folks, Mr. Moten, as far as that duplicate bill, I'm sure that's an answer that's going to be forthcoming easily for you, and I would hope you don't lose any sleep over it. And the folks for the single lot assessments, I mean, I've seen it in the past where we've had a lot more folks here than we're here tonight, and I don't think it's just the cold weather that kept them back, but I would have to say that we're doing a pretty good job if it was just a couple of folks who had issues with the single lot assessments. So I attribute that to the great work that our staff does with fewer resources. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Floyd Clark is unable to make the meeting tonight, so we'll move to Councilman Buckalora.
Councilman Floyd Clark asked me to give his comments, sir, so I'll be using the whole 10 minutes.
You've got 5 minutes.
Just teasing. Good evening, citizens. I'd like to welcome everybody here to the City Council meeting today, and like to remind everybody of the Black History Month, which just started on the 1st of this month, and all the contributions that African Americans have contributed to this country and continue to contribute. I think it's always good to think about what people do positive instead of negative. I'd like to talk about an article that was in the Saginaw News a couple of days ago about diversity. They had an editorial in there that's saying that they agree to that the city should look diverse in the employments and stuff like that in the city of Saginaw, and I can agree 100%. And I'm thankful to the Human Resource Department for putting out some feelers out there in the community about making us a more diverse community when it comes to employment here in the city of Saginaw. So I'm just glad that the city is doing some things in that nature so that we all can feel like we're part of the city of Saginaw. I got a member that I work with in the city next here, stays at 2616 80th Street, and she wants to buy the lot next door. So I want to pass this on to Mr. Stemple so that he can get his lady a call. I got a phone number down here, and we'll get that to him. I was thinking any citizens want to buy a lot that's been, they tore down a house, let's give it to them so we can put it back on the tax rolls and make the city a beautiful place for everybody. Other than that, I don't have any other comments. Thank you.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank all of the speakers who spoke. I'm sure that the city will get to you in a timely manner. I wanted to address Mr. Fitzpatrick. I had a message from my granddaughter to tell you thank you for the ice skating park. We happened to visit the park. If you haven't been to Hoyt Park, coldness and all, trust me, it is just so phenomenal. My granddaughter is 6, but she had a ball. And all she talks about is when we going again. And I told her when the weather warms up. So I wanted to say that. The other thing is I will be on the panel on Thursday, I think, Mayor? Okay, look at him. I will be on the panel on Thursday morning at Arthur Hill High School. It is really a treat to come to the school to see the students interacting with the council members and county commissioners and all of the people that they interact with. I'm sure the mayor's going to acknowledge we have some students here from SVSU. I'm excited because I remember sitting in your seats, having to sit through a council meeting and a county commissioner meeting as a grade. So I don't have anything else to say, but everybody stay warm, stay warm. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Larry Clark.
I have no comments this evening.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to everyone. And I'm not sure if this young lady is a Saginaw Valley student, but she's right at the front row. Welcome to the young lady at the front there. Just like to make comments about a couple of events I attended this past Sunday relative to Black History Month. Councilman Balls mentioned I attended Pastor Bradley's church, and the interesting thing about that event, he honored 3 individuals who were graduates of the nursing school at Saginaw Valley State University, and he wanted to make a point, a reference to these young ladies and emphasize 3 points of his message. The first point was to have a dream. The second point was to have faith. And the third point was to be committed. And all 3 of those young ladies who were recipients of degrees for nursing had to do just all 3 of those areas. And he had them speak on what it took for them to accomplish that goal. And that was very, very enlightening. It was very encouraging to the entire congregation. Had a lot of folks from St. Mary's and the Greenhouse Gathering Place there in attendance and support because St. Mary's partners with the Mission in the City program at Pastor Bradley's church. And every second Saturday of each month, they provide free health services to individuals who do not have health care. So that was a great event I attended. Also, later that evening, I attended another program at Tabernacle Baptist Church where our former mayor was honored with the Rosa Parks Community Service Award, and the city did provide a certificate of recognition for that event, and that was very well attended as well. So again, as my colleague already mentioned, there are so many contributions that have been made and are being made, and it's very important that we honor those. I would also echo the positive movement for diversity, and to the city manager and all the staff who have been working in that vein. It's very encouraging to see the efforts that have been made thus far with the job fair and just kind of putting those recruitment fillers out there, and just making people feel comfortable to apply. So, Mr. Manager, great job. I think we'll see the benefits down the long term. So, very, very pleased about that. Also, I had just a question that was posed to me regarding the parking lot of the Court Street Cafe, Saginaw News area. They asked about a time limit. Apparently, several folks have gotten tickets, and they didn't realize that it was, I think it's a 2-hour time limit, or is it a 2-hour time limit? Okay. Are there posted signs? Okay. All right. So that was a question that I just got today, so I said I would bring that up for an answer. Again, Councilman Tibbs, thank you for bringing up the Taste of Soul, and making sure that we all knew you had tickets. So the way you do it is you make sure everybody get a ticket before you leave. That way you got 9 tickets. So okay, all right. But I have some as well. It is a great event. First Ward, as many of us know, has been in the community for many, many years, and they are a strong partner with the city and have been, and so if we can support them anyway, I would strongly encourage that as well. And the food is great, so 11:30 on the 27th, be there, be square. So that's another plug. So with that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Annie Bench.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I too would like to echo my fellow council members' comments to our public speakers and the people who came to bring their concerns up about the single lot special assessment. Our city staff is very good at what they do, and they're very good at communicating with the public why they do the things that they do and how those work. And we have seen them certainly admit to mistakes in the past when it has occurred. So it's not. It's certainly worthwhile if you think a mistake has been made to come forward, because human error does occur sometimes. I also wanted to mention Hoyt Park and the activities going on there. I thought it was really neat to see all the firefighters out in the outhouse over the weekend. It was a little too cold for me, but I was living vicariously through those photos that I saw. It looked like a lot of fun. And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem O'Neill, for recognizing the young lady in the front row. She is not mine personally, but she's my niece, and I'm very proud to introduce her to everyone and bring her here tonight. Her name's Alyssa, and she's here by choice, not by force. So she actually asked if she could come, and I think at 12 years old in 6th grade, that's. I think she's probably tired of hearing me talk about these things and had to see it firsthand, I guess. Yes, that does not surprise me. Snapchat me later. But that's all I have, so thank you very much.
A couple things from the center of the table here. First, I want to acknowledge the loss of a good friend and a community person in the loss of Yvonne Riggins, this passing Yvonne down at the neighborhood house. Boy, she was just a blessing to all the residents down there and a lot of our community people, and did a wonderful job. And we just we'll miss that person in our community. But that also then opens the door for somebody else to step up and to take over and to do the kind of work that the people that we've been losing have been for a long time. We got some new people stepping up, and I really like that. I have a couple just real quick things here. Anytime you, both our speakers, thank you for coming tonight. Staff will get back with you. Council will get a report on those. And anytime you have any questions about water bill payments and so forth, I know that drop box is convenient, but boy, don't hesitate coming in and personally handing it to somebody. Sometimes I think that really, especially if we're getting right down to a wire on timing, make sure that we get that in there. But I'm sure that that will be resolved in one way or another, so looking forward to that being done. Very curious about why 2 back-to-back water bills that high, so I know that will be looked into, so we'll do that. This past Saturday morning, Councilman Tibbs and I had the great pleasure of the Ezekiel Project's Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. prayer breakfast we attended, and big turnout, and boy, you just don't know what's going to come out of the speaker's mouth. But boy, did he call it the way it was. And there's a whole room of very embarrassed people because that room was segregated. We had tables of just blacks. We had tables of just whites. And here we are at the Dr. Martin Luther King breakfast. And boy, you talk about reality check. He did it. And I was doing good until Councilman Tibbs left me. But I was doing good. But there's no excuse for that. So I just want to let you know, Councilman Tibbs, that I think he was looking my way. But and there's so many events going on, and many of our council members, contrary to what you may believe, have full-time jobs. So if there's stuff like coming up this week at Arthur Hill High School, we have council members that work all day long, and it's hard to make some of those events during the day. And so we will try to make as many of those as we can. And Thursday, several of us will be over at Arthur Hill for that. What a great time down at Hoyt Park. And our firefighters stayed true to themselves, why they wanted to wear the boots and the coats and the hats and then try to sprint that whole way. So next year we may have to come up with a lighter gear for them or something. But listen, close to 1,000 people down there enjoying that, and it was a great time in our city. So many good and positive things happening. Boy, my last comment will probably cause some controversy, and if it does, so be it. I know our school board is looking at a very tough decision this Wednesday, and the comments are of closing Saginaw High School, and I'm going on the record here from this table only as the mayor, but not as representing the city council. I believe you should close both high schools, because I believe if Saginaw High has to close and no longer to exist, I believe Arthur Hill needs to close also. And I think we should become united, and we should create one high school. Now, we may temporarily be in one of those buildings, but it's time. And I'm very fortunate because right after I ended my high school career, my high school no longer exists. And that was out in the township. Douglas MacArthur High School does not exist. But at the same time, Eisenhower ended, and they called it Heritage. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity for this community to come together, because I think positive all the time. How can we positive? We come together, we're united, we create one high school, and that it represents everybody. It's not the Trojans now becoming Hillites, because if they have to suffer, I think both sides, and I think it's only right to do that. And it's okay to let go of history. It's okay. They both had a wonderful run and just acknowledgments, but I think it's time, and I hope that they do the right thing and make it work. And I think it's very positive for that. So with that, I'm going to end my comments. And I know I run over, but see, I also had some of Councilman Clark's time. So, okay, thank you. Madam Clerk.
We are now at the reports from manager.
Mr. Manager, any reports? I know there's none listed here, but I got a feeling you might.
Yeah, I have some items to update council on, and also provide some information for a few of the items on the agenda. First, though, I wanted to congratulate the mayor on his State of the City speech. I think he did a great job, and as did Mike Hanley, the county board chair. So thanks for doing that. It's not easy to give a speech like that in front of a room that size, and I think the mayor did a great job. It's also can be viewed on the city's website and on the city's YouTube channel right now if you go to the city council section. And I also wanted to mention to the rest of council that the mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and I met with our new Senator Ken Horn and new Representative Vanessa Guerra last week, and we're going to be doing that, I believe, on a quarterly basis, which is something that they asked for and I think is a good idea. So again, if you have any concerns or issues you would like brought up with our state senator or representative, please let one of the three of us know. And there is an opportunity where if you also want to be included in the meeting, we can do that on future dates as long as we're mindful of our Open Meeting Act. And so we'll have to schedule that if you're interested. We also are meeting with Congressman Kildee this week, so if you have any concerns you'd like addressed, please let one of the three of us know. We already have several, I'm sure, but we can always add to that list. Also wanted to remind everyone that the Neighborhood Association Action Group meeting is tomorrow at Council Chambers at noon here, and the citywide meeting is next Thursday, the 26th at 5:30 p.m. And I believe that one is at Adams Boulevard Association, which is Michigan Lutheran Seminary, and that is at 5:30. We did send out a press release, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that the city of Saginaw was selected for the Place Plan project through the Michigan Municipal League. We're going to have to partner with them on that and provide a little bit of money, but it's key technical assistant on economic development projects designed to attract and retain residents and employers. We'll develop an action plan with the MML around specific projects. And I think a lot of these awards go to cities that have very specific projects, but they're letting Saginaw have a pretty broad range. So we met with MML last week to talk about what we want to see out of the project, and they're very open, and it's a little bit different, so they're very interested in working with us on this. It's not going to be like every other project they do. So as we develop that, I'm sure we'll have a few council members involved in that as well. So if you have time to do that, we'll be putting that out. And I think it's a great opportunity for the city. There were 7 cities selected, and they include Boyne City, Benton Harbor, Lathrop Village, Monroe, Niles, and Traverse City, and Saginaw. So it's they do about 6 or 7 cities every year. So it's a great opportunity for us. I wanted to just give you a brief update on number 5 on the agenda, which is Pulse 3 Foundation. It's a ratification, and it's a little bit different than the normal process, but Pulse 3 Foundation contacted Chief Van Loo recently because they wanted to select the Saginaw Fire Department to receive an AED through their grant program, and they wanted to award it at them at the Shocks and Saves hockey game that was recently. So Chief brought that to me, and the Pulse 3 Foundation waived part of the application process in order to get this done. So I thought it was a good idea, and it's an opportunity for the fire department to get additional equipment. And I believe all of their rigs are equipped with AED with this final one. So I thought it was an opportunity that we couldn't pass up. So that's coming to you as item number 5. And then we have a few other items regarding the body camera systems for the police department. So I'm going to ask Chief Ruth to come up and give a brief explanation about that program.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity to explain to you the program that we're trying to institute at the police department. We're very lucky to be able to take part in this grant process through the Homeland Security. They had some money left over from 2013 that had to be spent, so they gave us the opportunity to test our test program for our cameras on this particular system. I put a committee together back in September, October of 2014 to research the taser cams, or I should say the cameras, body cameras that would be on the officer's person. Through that process, the committee looked at several different types of cameras. They looked at about 6 or 7 different companies that are out there. One of the best that they could find at this time is the Taser cam. It's actually got the most battery power of any other camera that's out there on the market, and it's not that bad of a price. From a pricing standpoint, it's very reasonable. There are some other issues with it, with download of storage of the video data that comes off of it. There may possibly be some fees down the road as far as storage of those particular videos and data. I think that from the research that we've done with some other police departments and from talking to our IT department here at the City of Saginaw, I think we'll be able to overcome those issues. We just need to test these cameras for a period of time and see if we can integrate them into our systems here at the city and at the Saginaw Police Department. So basically, before you, you have on the consent agenda, you have before you an approval for the grant itself and then the purchase of the cameras. What we are basically doing is we are going to test 12 of the cameras for a 90-day period. In the 90-day period, we get the service from Taser International for the storage of the data for free. Within that 90-day period, we feel that we should be able to download that data onto our own system so that we don't have the fees after the test period for the cameras itself. The cameras, the grant is covering the cost of the cameras with the exception of about $700 and some that we'll use forfeiture funds on to obtain 12 of these. After this test is complete, which I would assume would be towards the end of the summer, by that point in time, there should be a lot of federal grant money out there from Washington and other avenues through the federal government to purchase cameras for everyone. When that grant money comes out, we'll already have our tests done and we'll be ready to make a move on the bigger grant so that we can obtain a camera for every individual police officer that's working on the road for our department. And obviously, I think everybody knows the benefits of the cameras for the citizens and for the police officers themselves. So that's basically the game plan with this particular test. At that point in time, if the test works and we're successful in getting more cameras from through federal government grants, and these cameras that we purchased under this grant would be utilized in another method within the department. We would actually push them over to our EST team so that they can utilize those cameras when they do searches of homes for search warrants and things along that line, which I think would greatly reduce a lot of the liability that the city has at this point in time. And that the REST team does go countywide to all the municipalities in the county. So I think it's going to help everybody. Any other questions? Yes. No, they don't. They're made by Taser International.
That's a good point. I'm surprised. Anyway, okay, yeah. So basically, this is just what does it look like?
It's a very small box. It looks like half the size of my cell phone.
All right.
And it connects right here where your tie is, right on the shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And as you walk around, it picks up every single thing you're doing when you turn it on. They won't be on 24/7.
Yeah.
But when the officers go to an incident, you
Yeah.
turn the camera on. If somebody's acting disorderly or you're going to have communication with an individual, push the button and turn the camera on.
So traffic stop would be one?
Correct. Yes, any traffic stop interaction with the public.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you.
And Councilman Tibbs, you were next, and then I'll come down this side. Go ahead, Councilman Tibbs.
You're up. Well, thanks, Chief, for the initiative and looking and finding these grants. You know, as part of the court system, you always get kind of bummed out when our machinery is not working any longer, such as our TV or our cameras in our vehicles. And I was just wondering what type of warranty, or I mean, I'm sure you guys are considering it, but are we are we figuring out how we're going to have the funds to make the general repairs that might come at a later date?
To maintain the units down the
Yes.
road. They're a $399 unit. Throw them away and grab a new one.
Oh, okay.
For that cost. And at this point in time, all the other departments are utilizing those cameras. The maintenance is very low. I would assume at some point there would be a battery replacement cost, something along that line. But at this point in time, that's why we're testing them, to see if they fit into our organization. After the test, we may find that they don't. And we may have to go on to further testing. It's just from all the other departments we researched with, this seems like the best camera out there for our needs.
So the cost would primarily be storing the
It's a storage of the data, and
the
I think we
data.
can get over that one with our IT department. I've had a couple conversations with Jeff Klopsick, and I think we can get over that hurdle.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Councilwoman Brenda Moore.
You're asking for 12. Are they going on the road, an investigation?
Of course, they're going to be on the road. 12 cameras isn't enough to cover every single officer that's working. It'll cover the officers that are on one shift.
Okay.
But you have to have charging time, download time, things along that line for the cameras. So, yeah, at this point in time, we've got enough of cameras to cover a shift, say a night shift, and then the other half of the cameras could cover day shift. Well, those are downloading and/or charging. Yeah, it takes a few hours to charge them back up to get that capacity.
I'm sorry, how many cars do we have on the road during the day and night? Is it the same
It
amount?
depends on, we try to have at least 6 per shift. Sometimes there's 7.
Okay. That's all.
I have to apologize if you saw me shaking my head on 6, because
That's low, extremely low.
I
When the
remember
mayor
6
was-
I remember when 6 was just one small section of our
That's
city,
nothing, yeah.
let alone the
Yeah,
the
we'd
the
have
whole
20
city, so
we'd have
thank
over
you
20
very much
officers
for
a
that.
shift years
Any
ago.
any other comments for the, Councilman Larry Clark? Go ahead.
Thank you. Chief, do we have the proper software to handle this?
That's what we're researching. We should, and we will get the proper software to back up all the information that we need with the test cameras, or with the cameras themselves when they come. We will have 90 days to try to get those to work on our system, which other departments are doing it.
If,
So there's no reason why we shouldn't be
if
able to
after
do it.
90 days we find the software is not adequate, are we picking up the tab for that, or
It's,
is that part and parcel of the grant?
yeah, it's not so much the software itself, it's the capacity of our servers to hold all of that information. It's the amount of information that's being stored when you store a video. It's not so much the program. We actually, right now, we have been testing cameras for a month or so now for different companies. And over the weekend, some of the officers were using cameras. We'll get one, maybe, they'll send us to test. And we just download the information onto our computer. With one camera, it doesn't take up that much information, or storage space. It's all the storage space that we're worried about. It's not the software programming. That's not what we're worried about at all. It's just enough of space to store our video.
Well,
The
reason-
videos from our cars that we have with our cameras in our cars, that takes a tremendous amount of space on the servers to store.
Well, the reason I asked is periodically, we look at our reports here, and we're constantly approving software updates. And there are tons of them. I haven't taken the time to total them, but we spend a lot of money on updates.
Yep, I agree, and this
I
is why.
guess my concern is, if this update is substantial, can we cover it, or is there any way of having that grant improved to cover the cost of the update?
No, the grant will not be improved. This grant has so much money in it that's left over from 2013. I was sitting in the right meeting at the right time a few weeks ago when they said they got the money left over. It's got to be spent by March 1st. Can you use it? And of course, I said, yeah,
Yep.
Pick me.
I would certainly
And they
hope
did.
so.
No.
It benefits the companies making the camera to have the download software available, because you're not going to have your camera, you're not going to buy their camera system if their software is too expensive. The issue that we'll be looking at is the data storage issue. So when the officers come back, however, the data downloads into one of our servers, which I don't think will be a problem, that's what we have to look at if we need more server space. So, but even at that point, I think what you would do is you save it on the server for a number of designated days, and then you can either let the data go or you download it to disks or something like
Yep.
that.
Yeah, and the one department that we researched, they're saving their data for 1 month, and then they override it, so that they can utilize the space within their server and they don't eat it up. That's all we're looking at is space. And Mr. Cloris, this is a test for the 90-day period so that we can determine whether these cameras can be utilized in our department and whether they're fiscally responsible enough for us to use. That's part of the research that we're going to do when we're testing them. And we feel that we'll be able to test them much better if we have 12 of them rather than 1. And it's working out just perfect that our test is going to be right during the summer when it's the hottest out and it's the busiest on the streets.
Well, nice job finding the money. Hit a couple more meetings and maybe we can get more cameras. Thank
I
you
hit
very
enough
much.
of meetings now. Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Council members, any other questions for our chief? Thank you for being so proactive. Thank you, Chief. Mr. Manager?
That concludes the management update.
Okay, and that was items, we talked about 5, 6, and 7, council members, of the consent agenda. For those in the audience, that was items 5, 6, and 7, just in case you're keeping track there. So, Madam Clerk?
Consent agenda.
All right, and I need to announce the agenda has been available at City Hall, on the city's website, and on SGTV channel 191. See, SVS students didn't realize that if you went to SGTV 191, you could have sat at home and watched this meeting, but I don't want to say that. Council members, I need a motion to adopt the consent agenda, leaving room for exceptions. It's been moved and supported. Are there any exceptions? Once and final time, are there any other exceptions? Any exceptions? Being none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, your next order of business is reports from boards, commissions, and committees, and appointment of board and commission members.
And any of our council members have any reports from the boards, commissions, or committees that are on? Councilwoman Annie Bench.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind everyone that the City School Liaison Committee meeting is this Thursday, February 19th at 5:30. It will be at hosted by the school board at the Board of Education. And I wanted,
Time?
5:30?
5:30 at the board, right?
And I also wanted to mention that this will be one of the first city school liaison meetings since I've been on council, where the county will also be joining us. It used to be the county, city, and the school board, so I'm very excited about this. So it's very good. We'll have the chairman there, and I believe he's bringing a guest, and so hopefully we'll be having a conversation about bringing us all back together again. So thank you. That's all I
I
had.
think that's great. Okay, any other, Councilman Tibbs?
The subcommittee, the crime-free lease addendum subcommittee should be meeting here in the next few weeks, sometime probably in mid-March or so. Just wanted to give the heads up. The city attorney, thank you very much, vetted the last proposal or draft, and I guess we will be presenting that to the subcommittee at the next meeting.
Will we, when that committee reports, will we see the neighboring communities, what they are offering too, or is there some way you can summarize what neighboring communities may be doing compared to what we're looking at and doing, just as comparison,
I
for
can-
just information.
Sure, I could do
Okay,
that.
That would
Not a
be
problem.
great, thank you. Good work. Any other committees, commissions? Any other? Okay, let's move on then to appointments. Madam Clerk, would you go through the appointments for us, please?
Sure, your first one is to approve the mayoral appointment of Alexandria Jones to the Saginaw Arts and Enrichment Commission with a term to expire June 30th, 2017.
Need a motion to, oh, yes?
Should we do all of them, and if anybody got any exceptions, they can pull them out now, and then just vote on all of them, get it over with?
Is there any exceptions to the appointments for boards, commissions, and that would be items 1 through 6? Is there any exceptions to those?
Some are mayoral and some are council.
All right, some are mayor, some are council, but they need all approval by the Councilman Balls, would you make that motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the, all 6 of them.
Okay,
Second.
been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All are appointed.
And Mayor, you are now at motions of miscellaneous business.
And does any other council members have any motions or miscellaneous business besides myself? I do have one that's on the agenda, or the one that we sent out. Thank you for sending that out. I'd like to, under miscellaneous motions, approve to submit a grant application to Paults 3. These electronically, you should have got this, I believe, this information electronically. Approved to submit a grant application to Paults 3 Foundation for an AED unit for City Hall, and to authorize the city manager or his designee to sign all related documents. We know that we just went through and approved the one for the fire department, but we do have the opportunity to submit an application, and with the large amount of people coming in and out of City Hall all the time, felt it was very necessary if we could get Paults 3 to Foundation to see fit to give us one here at City Hall. We certainly would appreciate it. We certainly need to ask for that. But that is something in the future also, council members, that we are going to have to look at our major sites throughout the city of having that wonderful opportunity also. So we have, the motion has been approved, or I'm sorry, motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. If there's no other business, I need a motion to adjourn. Been moved and adjourned. Is there any discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. We're adjourned.